Since 2006, we have been offering a bachelor's degree in computer science entirely by distance learning. Since 2014, we have increased our offer by proposing formula or Comodal formula. This is the subject of today's discussion. If we go back to the distance learning courses themselves, we can recall its advantages that are already known, allow access to training that is inaccessible for people living in the regions or in foreign region, for example, but also to allow people in employment to return to school. In fact, we observe three typical profiles of distance students can be distinguished. At first, students who seek the opportunity to interact directly with the teacher during the session in synchronous. Students who cannot attend the course when it's provided because of professional or personal constraints. They can then attend the course offline by reviewing the records. But you have two students who can attend the courses in synchronous mode, not having time constraints at that time, but prefer to allow the sessions offline to be able to follow at their own pace. Obviously, the disadvantage of this formula is to lose the ability to interact. Of course, there are disadvantages to taking a distant learning course. You have to be more rigorous in your schedule. A backlog that accumulates quickly becomes too great to catch up. And then you're alone. If you find yourself stuck in a job, you don't have colleagues to help you. We must therefore give ourselves the means to overcome this inconvenience and to enhance our offer. Instead of giving class from office, we have started the experience of doing it in classrooms by allowing students who wish to do so to attend the shooting. Thus, students have the choice between following the course in class, following it live at distance, and for those who are not present or virtually present, to follow it offline. We arrive at the Comodal formula as we use it. Okay. Yes. As you see here, it's all about the Adobe Connect synchronous distance learning platform. You can use other platforms like WebEx, but specialized for learning. It is its interface that is projected in the classroom, in which the presentations are integrated to support the material presented. Students in the classroom and those are at distance in synchronous mode, therefore see virtually the same thing. The interactive whiteboard makes presentations more dynamic, especially during software demonstrations. Students in the classroom can intervene by asking their questions. Of course, special attention must be paid to ensure that those at distance benefit from it. Questions must be repeated because there is no microphone in the classroom. Those who are at distance can also ask their questions using the platform's tools, such as chat or the question or answer module. As you see, an assistant moderator present in the classroom ensures this interactivity by answering questions directly or being a spokesperson in reporting these questions. The assistant who is in the room films me, which gives the atmosphere of the class. This is very much appreciated by the distance students who report feeling like they were in class. As all events are recorded, students who cannot be present remotely or in class will be able to follow everything that happened during the course. The recordings also offer the possibility to listen to parts of the course again. The pedagogical model used is essentially a classical model with a weekly lecture plus laboratories as far as my course is concerned. My course is a programming course for the mastery of a language. As far as laboratories are concerned, I have kept the two formulas which can even be complementary in class with troubleshooting and remotely with a focus on demonstrations. For the laboratories, traditionally in computer science, it is a matter of offering series of exercises on the topic covered in class during the week, and assistant provide a breakdown service. But remotely, it is difficult to do troubleshooting, and presenting solutions quickly become uninteresting because the solutions are online. So it's more important to rely on demonstrations, dynamic activities. The solution of the exercise then become more support for these demonstrations. Here you can see the configuration of the classroom, and you can't see the moderator because it's near the other student in the classroom. And here you can see the interactive whiteboard that makes the demonstrations more dynamic. But here we can see what the students who are at a distance see, whether they are in synchronous or asynchronous mode. And in terms of adapting practices, first of all, think about the synchronous students and repeat the questions that are asked in the classroom before answering them. But while taking to those who are there, do not forget those who will follow the recording. For example, we should think about giving cues in the recordings, preferring the integration of PowerPoint in the platform rather than, for example, screen sharing, and put titles on the slides so that they appear as cues, possibly providing one for breaks that can be skipped during the viewing. Try as such as possible to involve the connected students, for example, by involving them in the synthesis, for example. For the laboratories, it's necessary to rely more on demonstrations or dynamic activities. The solution of the exercise, for example, then become more of support for this demonstration. We have indefinitely increased the offer by increasing the flexibility of access. Students can choose a formula that suits them best. Now, whether the fact that the sessions are recorded in the classroom, which adds dynamic to the lessons, cause more students to follow it synchronously is difficult to predict precisely. Also, we have statistics. There are behaviors that bias possible conclusions. For example, we discovered that students who are in class are also connected to be able to ask questions using the platform's chat. But currently with COVID, the health directives strongly urge us to avoid face-to-face meetings, especially if we have large groups such as I can have. I have a course waiting for the end of the pandemic to be able to return to class and find the Comodal mode, which undoubtedly brings add value to our lesson. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Thierry, for this presentation. Quite interesting to see how you cope with it and to see that there is some student satisfaction. I guess we'll be back on this question by the end of the roundtable. We still have one guest that we're going to hear. I can see him. It's Duncan. Nice to meet you, Duncan. So he's a Edtech consultant from LearnAnyWhere and is going to share with us his insights about Comodal and Hyflex Teaching. You can go on, Duncan.
Hi, thanks, Charlotte, for that introduction, and hopefully you can all see that.
Yes, I can see your slide.
Perfect, thank you. So thank you for inviting me today to share my thoughts and experiences with the symposium. A quick introduction about me, because I'm sat over here in the UK at the moment. I've been involved in digital technology for learning since 2006. And some people will know me because in 2015, I innovated a Learning Spaces Roadshow where we created a pop-up active collaborative learning classroom, such as the one you see now. And we hosted that for 4 weeks at a time at each university or college. And these roadshows were later run as a GIST project, so our NREN in the UK. And we expanded into bits of Europe too, which was quite exciting. I've also written a couple of books on using digital technology for small group active collaborative learning. And finally, currently I'm serving on the external advisory board for a distributed active learning project called Salto at NTNU, the Norwegian University of Science and Technology. So I'm going to give a bit of more of a holistic view to everything that's going on. Education is not exempt from what is happening in the world around us. It never has been. That could be something political on a local scale or the global emergency brought about by the COVID pandemic that we're all facing now. And we are in an emergency that I've certainly not experienced before in my lifetime. But what happens in an emergency? Well, that depends on how much planning you did beforehand, the resolve of the current leadership, and the culture of the place you find yourself in. So in China, for example, they've dealt with COVID in a way that would be unacceptable here in the West. But thanks to their forced lockdowns, they are pretty much back to normal now. Compare that to Portugal, which was amongst the least affected places during the first wave of the pandemic last year, but today finds that their health infrastructure cannot cope due to the massive explosion they've had in infections, many of which came from their official relaxation of lockdown over Christmas and the New Year. And away from education, when airplanes first made emergency landings, they couldn't get people out of aircraft quickly enough. There were lots of pinch points and 6 people emptying to the space in the aisle for 1 person and people who couldn't jump from high doorways. And So how did the airline industry react to their potential emergencies? Well, the regulators insisted that airline manufacturers incorporated those emergency inflatable slides to every exit, and that increased the speed at which they could get people out of the aircraft in an emergency situation. So very successful. So what did education plan for? So for a long time now, educators have understood that mass gatherings of students in lecture halls are not effective for learning, and that in most circumstances that could be effectively replaced with online provision. But culturally, because university education it's really highly resistant to change, it hasn't really happened. Even in relatively recent times. There are one or two exceptions. Here in the UK, Northampton University opened a new campus for 12,000 students and around 2,000 staff in September 2018. And that one university just has one small lecture space. A couple of years before that, the New Bay campus at Swansea University still went ahead with a development that saw a single 700-seat lecture theatre as one of many thousands of lecture spaces. So these, the teaching from these lectures could have been transformed by technology long before we were faced with this current emergency. So I believe it's our culture that's holding us back. The majority of academics still don't embrace in-room digital technology. That's anything from visualizers to lecture capture. They certainly don't want their lectures recorded. There are several reasons for this. Firstly, I think they think students won't turn up if they can watch it online. They also fear that it might be reused with new students and that will reduce their own value. But wouldn't it be great if that recorded material was used for teaching? And there's organizations like the Khan Academy who have been really successful at this. And instead, the passion and expertise of the tutor was used to add value with different learning interventions that actually benefit from that real-time conducted with the real person, such as the small group active collaborative learning. And then not everybody realizes there's a big difference between teaching and learning. Those large-scale lectures with their didactic transmission of information are part of the teaching element that can be delivered online. And so because of the pandemic, we've reached a situation where teaching online has now become acceptable, not because of the culture around learning and teaching, or because we acknowledge that technology can improve those pre-technology practices, but it's become accepted because of the need to keep people safe during the pandemic. So what we need to do next, I believe, are develop the strategies and pedagogies that enable students to learn when they're online, rather than just being taught and receiving information. And this is very different. And this is where Hyflex, I believe, will play a big part. That means students will want to engage with online instruction, not because they have to, but because they want to, because they're being engaged and motivated and they have a sense of belonging that on-demand viewing of content in isolation, including those pre-prepared, those pre-recorded lectures, don't provide. But then for the most part, there's plenty of research that tells us that large number of students in a lecture hall listening to a single professor doesn't give them that sense of belonging either. So I believe that when our restrictions on travel and social distancing allow us to do what we want to do rather than what we're now instructed to do, the world is not going to go back to how it was. Business has already recognized that the loss of productivity that they thought would happen from home working just hasn't materialized. And the acceptance of video conferencing that has replaced very expensive and time-consuming travel is here to stay. Maybe not 100%, but the pandemic has definitely changed the culture within business. But we also recognize that knowledge-based employees won't want to spend all of their working week at home. What they've missed from the office hasn't been work, but it's been the social contact. It's been those ad hoc discussions, the informal networking and collaboration before and after formal meetings. And that's what gives them that sense of identity and belonging. And for exactly those same reasons, our university campuses will now change. Those didactic lectures will die out more quickly than otherwise would have been the case. But students enrolled on full-time courses will still want a campus that will support them. Because students who enroll with a campus university rather than just an online provider, they don't just sign up for teaching, they sign up for the support they're going to get for their learning. Often the provision of accommodation, their fitness, their mental health, their support services. They join clubs and societies. These are all areas that enrich their sense of belonging and develop them personally and socially as well as academically. So campuses will not be needed for teaching, but they'll be needed, except for in some cases with medical and engineering subjects where teaching in laboratories and other specialized environments actually constitutes learning and their application of knowledge. But campuses will also be needed for learning and the growth of small group active collaborative learning, including Hyflex, and this is only going to accelerate further. So right now, we're still in the situation of emergency remote teaching. The planning wasn't there beforehand for anything else at such scale. And the facilities and technologies that will advance remote learning, including Hyflex, have not for the most part either been determined or invested in. If technology would allow, I'm going to now try to play the next slide, which is a video. If it's a very short video that Intel have produced. If it doesn't work very well online, then it's on the homepage of the address I'm going to give you at the end, and it's just over a minute long. So we'll give it a go.
Duncan, we can see it, but we don't hear the sound, FYI.
Okay, thank you. I'll move on. But basically, what we're trying to do is I've been working with Intel and a couple of their partners, so ViewSonic, who create the screens. And what we're trying to do is create an infrastructure that is an alternative to insisting that you buy product A or product B to create your environment. But instead provide an infrastructure that is built from standard components that work together and will support some of those tools that have been used for emergency teaching, the Zoom and the Teams and those types of solutions. Because what it doesn't show in the image I've got here is that instead of having 2 bits of content on 2 screens, this acts as 1 screen. And I think I've got in the next slide. Yeah, there we go. So we are just about to go and install this for the very first time in a large college in Glasgow, the City of Glasgow College. It's all ready to go. You can see that you can write right across both screens. You've got a Zoom across both screens. So we can put Zoom and Teams, and the academic can really see the students in a way that they can't in just using a laptop. So now in a Hyflex situation, you know, David's presentation at the beginning where we saw the 2 screens on top of one another, that's very difficult to put into a standard teaching space, but having the 2 side by side allows this to happen and to act as 1 screen. So we can use Zoom and Teams and all those things that we're currently using in an emergency. And some of those will evolve because there's a lot of investment and development going into Teams. But there are other solutions out there like Kaltura have got a virtual classroom software, just runs on the Windows platform in a web browser. Now we can see that across 2 screens. We can annotate across 2 screens. So we're not coming up with a fixed solution, but we're bringing in something that can be built along, because that, say, ViewSonic have done something very clever with 2 screens to make the whole thing annotatable and interactive across there. So we've got a passion to help different education sectors, not by imposing something on them, but working with them, because the needs of further education with apprentices and lots of part-time students is different from a university. It's different from K-12 as well. But you know, we're hoping to be able to help many things. And one of the interesting things about the Hyflex scenario is, you know, and I've seen some examples, is do you put that screen at the front of class so that the students in class can see both the tutor and the students who are not in class, or do you put it behind those students? So now the tutor in one view can see the students in the class and those who are remotely based. So there's a discussion around that to be had a little bit later on as well. But I hope that sort of put my thinking in perspective of where I see this fitting in, and I definitely see Hyflex being a big part of the future, because say it's not just going to be pandemics like this. This could help with how we address and get on top of climate change as well. So that's me finished.
Thank you very much, Duncan. Very fascinating. So if I can gather everything you've said, the three of you, is basically the first answer about Hyflex is that this is more than just for the pandemic, and this is a revolution somehow, at least a huge evolution in the way we teach. And it's okay. The question, Eude is there. We can't hear you. You don't have your mic.
Is it working now? Do you hear
Yes.
me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great.
That's perfect. You can go on whenever you want. It will be our pleasure to hear about your experience in your Hyflex teaching in economics.
Thank you. Have you just started, or I am joining in the middle?
You're joining in the middle, but at the perfect timing. So that's perfect. We're happy to have you.
Okay.
If you can share your screen and your slides,
Sure.
that would be a pleasure.
Yeah,
and then we'll ask you questions.
This is the first time I'm working with this program. Let me see how to share my screen on this one. I usually use Zoom.
We are Teams. Otherwise, I can share it if you want. I think I have your slide.
Just, can you tell me? Okay.
I'm going to do it.
Open share tray. That's it.
Yes.
Okay. Let me see if it's working.
Otherwise, I can do it.
Okay. Let me just see. Okay. Yeah, it works now. Do you see anything? No.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, let me see.
Floor is yours.
Okay, do you see the slides, or do you see, I am not sure which, I have two monitors. I don't know which one you are seeing that. Do you see just the slide or divided?
We see divided, but I think it's fine.
You see divided? No.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. We can move on. We can see you very well. You can go on.
Let me just... Sorry, give me a second, please. Okay, let me see. Oh, I shouldn't have done this. Let me see. Yeah.
You don't want me to do it?
No, it's working now. Just give me a second. Yeah. It is working. Okay, do you see my PowerPoint now?
No. Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay. Okay. Yeah, just, as I told you earlier, I have some experience with teaching with Hyflex. We started very back in 2014. The course I'm teaching, Principle of Microeconomics, I have been teaching this course for more than 20 years, every semester, and when we were in quarter system, every quarter. And our student numbers has been fluctuating between 500 to 700. And no matter what number we had, the lecture hall was too crowded. It was very difficult to communicate well with the students. And also another issue we had was in regard to teaching assistants. In the large classes, we do have recitations and teaching assistants. And many of our TAs were unexperienced, they are graduate students. Some of them are experienced teachers and some not. And it was very time consuming to coordinate everything between students, TAs, and large classroom. Spring 2014, actually, Office of Distance Education and E-Learning took the initiatives. They had a grant offered. I applied with help of my department, economics department at the Ohio State University. And we got the grant to actually overhaul the course and change it to a hybrid offering or Hyflex. We worked that summer. In fall of 2014, in the spring, we had planning, redesign again, testing in summer, and we offered for first time fall of 2014. And we continued that. Over the years, the course has improved. One thing in regard to this course that you need to know is majority of our students are either freshmen or sophomore. And actually number of freshmen keep increasing. It means the students coming right from high school to college. And it is very important to set expectation, also important to actually attend to their needs and adjust the course based on their adjustment to the college environment. And since students, majority of them are very tech savvy, we started to think about, okay, how about we move majority of information as much as we can to Carmen. That is the platform. We have our course pages. It is kind of to desire to learn format. And then at the same time, allow students to either attend in person or attend online. When it comes to recitations, I give 2 55-minute lectures, and each student has one recitation for 55 minutes. Graduate teaching assistants direct them, lead them. We started to discuss, okay, what should we do with these recitations? In our pilot program, we offered recitation also, not all recitations. If we had 9 recitations, we put 3 of them in hybrid format. So they had option to come to class or attend online. And during fall semester of 2014, we evaluate that and adjust it when it came to spring. And I will tell you how we did and what was our result, the result of our evaluation. So again, what we learned, basically, it was important to see how students are learning. Some students really love to get their pen and pencil, even now, to go to classroom and sit, listen, and take notes. And some students, they prefer everything be done on the computer, and they prefer a corner in their dorm or in the library, sitting individually alone. And actually, we realized some of our students using hybrid option, and they are working in group. They are connecting to each other in group of 5 or 4 or 6, going to one of these students' room in the dormitory. And actually, one of my students told me they are connecting their computer to TV and watching the lecture in a big screen, and then discussing with each other as lecture moves forward. So again, we realize this Hyflex option, even it is like in person as usual, if students actually would like to use in-person classroom, but at the same time providing them less crowded environment. As you can see here, just comparing these two side by side, you see it is much crowded when we moved from Hyflex. In the old time, before moving to distance learning after COVID, we required the students to come to class for the first 3 weeks in order to give them all information, make sure they are comfortable with logistics, and then let them to go online if they want to. We realized, based on our result of investigation, we did surveys, pre and post surveys, and compared the grades before and after. We realized attendance is important, no matter it is online or in person. But it doesn't matter how they are attending. When they are attending the lecture, their grade has improved. Majority of students like the lecture being available online. They liked listening to recorded lecture. Since 2014, I record all lectures and make it available to students if they missed a class or just they want to review the lecture before the exam. We do have question and answers. Even now, I have a very active discussion section on my Carmen, and students post their questions. I answer, sometimes other students answer their questions. As I move to distance learning after COVID, I put more weight on assignments, on weekly assignments, in order to keep students engaged, and less weight on exams. In our pilot program, having recitation hybrid was not that successful. As you can see, 36% was happy with it. Now, for basically what we have right now we are in completely distance learning mode. So all recitation, all lectures are completely online. Recitation is half-half. Some of our recitations are completely in class and some completely online. Based on our pilot program of 2014, we learned students, when students are attending online, some in class, it is very difficult for teaching assistants to coordinate students in the classroom and students online. And we got a much better result of our online recitation last semester when it was purely online. So where we are moving now, we are trying to actually have lecture hybrid, so students have option to attend online or attend in classroom, or in regard to recitation, we have either or. Either they go just to recitation in classroom or just online. Based on experience, it is very time consuming, especially during the adjustment time. So the instructor should be dedicated, and we should have very good IT support in order to make this to work. 2020 spring, as I said, we are offering just online. We are going through lots of adjustments. As I said, one thing I have had issue in regard to how to move in-class exam to online. We are not doing proctoring during the exam because of the issue. Some of students are in China and they have difficulty to use Proctoria or locked browsers. So again, all of these are challenges to see how much weight we should put on these exams, how to put the exam questions in the era that the students can copy and paste questions and answers from internet. So we are going through lots of adjustments here. But so far, actually, is good. For example, in my class this semester, I have about 1,040 students, and I just had the class right before this, and I had about 960 students in the class. I use Top Hat to ask questions during the class. I give them points for answering Top Hat question, so I give them incentives to come to class live. As I said, In recitations, we are trying to use group work, and that is helping students to have their small communities, get to know each other. In a large classroom, students easily get lost. And basically, so far, it seems everything is working. As I said, always there are challenges and always there are rooms for improvement. So basically, this is what I wanted to talk about it. In 2021 fall, we are going to have one course with about 1,200 students, but half kind of hybrid, half completely online. For the hybrid, recitation will be in person, lecture based on their choice, but for just online portion, recitation and lectures are online. But it is the same lecture for everyone and same common platform for everyone. Okay, thank you for listening. I look forward to hear if you have questions and comments. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Eude. It's very fascinating to see how you use Hyflex. And so the good news is that we had 3 questions when we arrived in this roundtable. We answered the first one, I think, and everybody, all guest speakers, you're okay on the same thing, meaning that Hyflex is not just because of the pandemic. You've said it, Eude, you've been using it for years. So no, it's not new, and it is going to last. And that makes sense because it offers flexibility to students, and it offers new seats for foreigners, for disabled students, and so on. So we understand the goal and one of the main benefits of the Hyflex. But there is a question I'd like to ask you, speakers, which was in the chat, and I'm agreeing with this question about the reusability of the courses, in the sense that, of course, you can reuse and you can be, as a student, as you said, look on your screen and on your TV the courses. But I thought that when you do courses online, asynchronous especially, you think about the way you design it, and that you design courses especially to be asynchronous, and so the way to learn is different. So how can we reuse those lectures for asynchronous learning? And second question, which was asked, is about are the students giving their agreement about reusing their image or their photo or anything when they are on the screen?
Yes, we actually went through, just answering the second question first, we absolutely followed copyright, and also we followed students' agreement, even with surveys. We did surveys, we did the test. We did very much scientific research on this. Basically getting all consent form signed by students if we are using their image, if we are using their we had some videos, students actually talking about the Hyflex. We got the permission to put those videos on Ohio State University site. It was a long process. And when I'm saying just, I worked with IT people and a Department of Economics, it's actually the work. I did work, but it was not just me. We had a team of dedicated people, and we were at least 4 or 5 people working all the time, that spring and summer, to actually overhaul the course. And then in fall, when I offered the course, when the department offered the course, we had very good, for example, Dr. Henry Griffey, he is part of ODE, and he was working with me for 3-4 semesters. And still, if I have difficulty and IT people are slow to answer, I will email him and he is there to answer. So basically, there is a huge teamwork behind it. Now, in my opinion, there is a big difference between courses that they are offered synchronously or asynchronously. We cannot just go directly and just use my recorded lecture and tell, okay, there is no lecture and just use this one. Because with that needs, the format is different, the topic you are covering, the way you are covering should be different. The reason I do synchronous, I am much more comfortable when I'm teaching to be in touch with the students. For example, today's lecture, as I said, I had more than 950 students in classroom, but my Q&A was open, my chat was open. That's, I said, I have two screens. Also, I have my admin TA were online too. So he was monitoring question and answers and responding, or if students had technical difficulty. I was checking my Q&A chat and responding as I was talking. Also, I was using top hat question, asking based on what I have covered, and based on their response, I was answering. So there are lots of interaction going when I am teaching asynchronously. And my lecture changes from semester to semester because depends on which questions students are emphasizing, who are my audience. Okay, hopefully I answered this question.
Yeah, you answered it very well. I think David had a point. David?
Yeah, but
Yes.
Ida made the point, and actually, yeah, the challenge is that the course, the goal is not just to upload the recorded video of the in-person classroom for the asynchronous students. Yeah, it's really to design the course for the three paths, and this is really challenging because you need at the same time to design for the in-person and the live online student, and for the asynchronous, with a learning path on the LMS, for example, and design interaction on the LMS also, like a chat, forum, bibliography. And but it's still a pretty new topic, and many things need to be tested and reinvented.
That's very true. For example, from fall semester to this semester, the whole 3 weeks, the break I had, I used to redesign again my course. I took a course, a redesign course. We do have lots of help from IT people. So I went through a course and then I used the information there, actually change my LMS, my Carmen. Even we had done it in 2014, but it was very different in distance learning because students are in a hybrid class or in-person class, you do have captive audience. They are sitting there, they have to listen. But when it comes to distance learning, students do multitasking. They do have very short, some of them have very short attention span. So everything should be very designed accessible. So basically, when you tell them, okay, look at the homepage, all information they need should be there. The links should be there, just a click. So I changed that, and actually this semester I have much easier time with the students compared to last semester. Last semester my modules was based on lecture notes, recorded lectures, end of chapter questions, assignments, fragmented. This semester I did change everything on a weekly basis. So basically they click week 1, all information is there. They go to week 2, all information is there. So again, as I said, still I am learning, still I am going through adjustment process. But as I see from students' response, it seems many things we have worked is working. Worked on it, it is working. And as I said, there are lots of things that needs adjustment and improvement.
Thank you very much. I do have a last question, or perhaps if I can see someone on the chat, but one thing, and when I hear you, Thierry and Ida, I'm really wondering that, how does it change the way you teach? Because of course you've got students in the room, so that's the basic way to teach, but you also have to think about those guys who are behind their screen. So how, so Thierry is discussing about, do we put the camera in front or in the back and so on. That's the IT way of thinking about it. But as a teacher, do you think you have developed new skills, new competencies, new ways of teaching? Apart from moving on from one way to teach to another, what did you learn from being teaching on Hyflex technology?
For Hyflex teaching, since some of students are not in class, I felt actually as I move forward, I need to be much more organized, much more right to the point. And at the same time, I need to do a little bit of multitasking, not only looking at the students, because as a teacher, when we look at the students, we get lots of clue how things are working. Just with looking at eyes of students, I can see if they are confused, they need more explanation, or they don't need more explanation. But in a distance learning, we don't see the students. So we have to use other ways. For example, I try to go basic, but at the same time, as I am explaining, as I said, for example, using chat and Q&A at the same time keeps me going in a way that I am responding, I am working with audience. I am not talking just to an empty room.
Okay, Thierry, you might want to jump in, or because you've been teaching Hyflex.
Yes, I think the same thing. You must develop multitask abilities when you teach, because you must think about the present student in face-to-face, and at the same time you must think about the synchronous, but too you must think the asynchronous students, not to think for us. It's the main difficulties to be multitask. Yes.
Okay. And what about student satisfaction? That's already something that we had in mind. So I from your experience and from your testimonies, it seems that the student satisfaction is very good. Is it better, or is it the same satisfaction? Or can you see a difference, for example, in completion of the course for those who were in class or for those who were online? Or can you see anything like that on student satisfaction and completion?
Are you asking me?
Any guest speaker? So Eude, David, if you want to jump in, Duncan.
I can just tell you quickly, during the during the pilot program and few years afterward, we did periodic survey. And basically based on students' response, we adjusted the course. From my point of view, looking at teacher evaluation, we know there are lots of flaws with these evaluations, but when we compare them, my evaluation got much better after I moved to more organized and hybrid teaching compared to what I had just in the classroom teaching. When it comes to distance learning, last semester, when we just moved to distance learning, we didn't have adjusted our hybrid to distance learning. We did have lots of complaints. And this semester, I'm seeing everything is moving much more smoothly. So basically, all these adjustments, I am sure it is improving because of students' response. But I am also sure there are lots of needs to be addressed here.
Just wanted to add something about the student experience, as it's very important. And in the Edtech Connection Network, two teachers talked in Hyflex mode and told me their feedback. And also in the presentation, I added the link to 3 research paper analyzing like Hyflex courses and the student satisfaction. And those 3 papers show that the students are more satisfied when they have the choice about the learning mode. And also something really important, that there is no decrease in student performance, and even for one of the 3 papers, slightly better performance for the students that were able to choose on their path. So it's important to keep in mind. But one of the challenges that rise often for the student is that it increases more from the student, like more motivation, more skills. to attend a Hyflex class. So this is important to take into account and to really prepare well with the student the class, and also to be sure that they have the skills and the resources and the equipment to attend.
Thank you very much. I think it's time. I see Sylvie, you're here. Thank you so much for this amazing discussion with some insights with real teachers trying to move on with Hyflex. Sylvie, I think the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Charlotte. It was very interesting roundtable, and now we are going to close the session. I've seen Professor Riri. Where are you? I've seen you. Okay.
Yeah, can you?
Yeah. So it's to you to give some final words, please.
Right. Thank you so much, everyone. It's almost midnight here in Indonesia, but we've been enjoying this talk a lot today, and I'm sure that our partnership to provide the best education, which is one of the most SDGs that we are working on to create quality education after the first one, which is well-being and health and good care. I'm sure that everything that we have been talking today regarding all these learning technologies, technology for learning, and also I remember friends from Cork talk about their effort to provide a nice green campus that we are going to go back because most of our friends today are optimists that we are going to go back to our university with a model Hyflex technologies. On behalf of UI GreenMetric, we are inviting all of universities, all speakers from Aalborg, from Paris, EPFL, Cork, Mulhouse, from Lancaster, from Montreal, Ohio. So many people from Laval and many things from Mexico, many places. We would like to invite you to also join our network, and we are happy that our partnership, starting from assessment, from ranking, it's going towards a partnership in which we are knowing that we have one Earth, that we are collaborating, and to make the better future for our future generation. Once again, I thank our friends from INSEEC University for organizing this nice event, very fruitful. Last year, it was circular economy, and this one is disruptive learning technologies. So we learned a lot. I'm sure that our student who's going to work in disruptive technology, working with artificial intelligence and everything, all the new technology will be supported by all lecturers that is very confident that they are helping, they can help the students to achieve the best. Thank you so much, Sylvie, for all the arrangement and all the moderators, all speakers. On behalf of the Universitas Indonesia from Jakarta, I thank you so much. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Some final words, dear colleagues, in organizing this symposium, we felt it was as important to address today's issue on disruptive learning pathway with you all. Seeing how many people attended, it only reinforces our initial feeling, and we have first results to give. It will be very briefly because it was a long day. COVID has been a true lab for pedagogical changes and has helped in produce and collect data on skills to better understand future changes in pedagogy changes. We see also that blockchain, cloud, artificial intelligence, and a lot of technologies in digital are crucial to apprehend the storm of disruptive learning pathways. Digital requires higher institutions to internalize data on technological skills And we are seeing an urge to secure data to protect our student private life. In fact, higher education can now be seen as a platform with a cloud and artificial intelligence. But today's challenge is to find a good compromise between fast-to-fast teaching and online teaching. There is a need to rethink the campus on its own more than ever. Such a campus needs to follow the digital trends on a social level to keep the link between students and professors to create a true community feeling. There is also a real need to develop professors, students, and staff skills. Last but not least, green and sustainable skills need to be addressed in the curriculum for students, of course, but also for teachers and administrative staff. And this is not a single basis, but on a regular basis. To sum up, campus should not only be a platform for digital learning, but also should become a model for sustainability. I would like to warmly thank all participants for attending this International Digital Symposium today. It means a lot to us. A special thanks also to all guest speakers for committing to this and analyzing the new trends we are facing. A special thanks for moderators. We were delighted to offer you such a diverse panel of experts from all over the world because we share the same questions today, and it is a big challenge for all academic community in the world. A big merci for the organizing committee for working hard on this event with me. Please do remember that this symposium is the official launch of the Disruptive Learning Pathway Lab with the INSEEC research centers. We are keen on continuing working with all of you and establish new partnership. Have a lovely evening and stay safe. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you. Thanks.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you.